A very warm welcome, everyone. We would now like to welcome our distinguished guests into the hall. Please join me in welcoming Assistant Governor Madelena Mohamed, Assistant Governor of Bank Negara Malaysia and Co-Chair of the Joint Committee on Climate Change, JC3. Ms. Salma B. Muhammad Maiden, Executive Director of the Securities Commission Malaysia and Co-Chair of JC3. Ms. Ng Wei Wei, Chief Executive Officer of United Overseas Bank UOB Malaysia Berhad, representing JC3 SME Focus Group SFG. And finally, Datuk Muhammad Zamri Muhammad Ishaq, President and Chief Executive Officer of Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia Berhad, CGC. They are accompanied by the JC3 SFG co-chairs, Mr. Ahmad Hanif Jamaluddin from Bank Negara Malaysia and Ms. Maureen Joseph, Chief Sustainability Officer at UOB. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural JC3 SFG Climate Conference for SMEs 2025. My name is Evie, and I'm honored to be your MC for today. We're thrilled to have you here today at Sasana Kijang, where we have financial institutions, ecosystem partners, and sustainability champions gathered here to explore practical solutions to help SMEs thrive in a changing climate. Before we dive in, let's talk about something special you've received upon your registration, and that is your conference lanyard with an identification seat card. On the back of the card, you'll find a QR code that gives you instant access to the full agenda and program details. It serves as your digital guide to everything happening today. But that's not all. As the name implies, this card is made of biodegradable, plantable seed paper, embedded with real chili or tomato seeds. So now, please take a moment to check the back of your card to see if you got the chili or tomato seeds. So how many of you have gotten the chili card? Nice. And how many have gotten the tomato card? Excellent. It looks like we have a great mix of chili and tomato growers in the room. After the event, simply tear the card, place it in soil, water it regularly, and with a little care, you'll soon see it grow. It's a small but meaningful step towards greening our environment, and we hope it inspires you to continue your green journey beyond today. With the theme of building climate resilience, practical actions for SMEs, we are honored to gather an esteemed lineup of distinguished speakers and thought leaders who will be guiding us through today's session. Their insights, expertise, and vision will illuminate the path forward as we work together to shape a more sustainable and inclusive future for Malaysia's SME sector. To begin our day, we are pleased to invite Ms. Ng Wei Wei, Chief Executive Officer of UOB Malaysia, to deliver her welcoming remarks. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Ng Wei Wei to the stage.
A very good morning to Yang Berusaha Puan Madelena Mohamed, Assistant Governor Bank Negara Malaysia, Yang Berusaha Puan Salma B, Executive Director of Market Development Securities Commission Malaysia, distinguished Chairman and CEOs, esteemed panelists, and valued SMEs, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you today. Since the formation of the JC3 SME Focus Group, SFG in short, I've had the privilege of journeying alongside many of you and witnessing the progress we've made. This is a space that brings together ideas, actions, and a shared sense of purpose. Today's inaugural JC3 SFG Climate Conference theme, Building Climate Resilience, Practical Actions for SMEs, has never been more critical. It reflects the urgency of the moment and the importance of moving beyond conversation to meaningful change. Our SMEs' resilience and competitiveness are closely tied to the health of the broader economy. When SMEs thrive, so does the nation. But we know the current landscape is challenging. Locally, businesses are adjusting to new fiscal realities like tariff changes and subsidy rationalization. Compliance costs are rising, and digitalization, while promising, can be resource-intensive. Of course, not all SMEs feel these pressures the same way. The nature of the business, its size, and the sector it operates in all shape how these challenges are felt. For many, the need to manage rising costs may push sustainability investments further down the priority list. But the reality is, sustainability is no longer something to plan for later. It's a business necessity today. And our approach needs to reflect that one-size-fits-all solutions won't work. We need to understand the specific pressures and opportunities each sector faces and tailor our support accordingly. That is why the 50 billion ringgit allocation in Budget 2026 is so important. It's a strong signal of support for SMEs, especially in areas like financing, guarantees, digitalization, and green investment. And as co-chair of the JC3 SME Focus Group, we are proud to support Malaysia's green transition by making this platform a catalyst for public-private collaboration for SMEs. Initiatives like the SFG Play, initiatives like what SFG Play throughout the year and what you will see later today are vital in turning climate aspirations into real on-the-ground impact, not just by making resources available, but by ensuring SMEs can access and apply them in ways that lead to meaningful transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, SMEs are increasingly embedded in global supply chains, and ESG requirements are becoming the new standard. We have seen how trade dynamics are shifting with measures like tariff linked to environmental standards. This isn't just policy, it's market reality. Based on my observation, I've seen this momentum reflected in the market. More companies listed on Bursa's ACE market, many of which are large SMEs, are being recognized for their achievements in green adoption. This tells us that SMEs are preparing and they need support, not just financing, but guidance, tools, and partnerships that help them navigate the transition. As an industry, we have a role to helping SMEs understand their carbon footprint, meet ESG standards, and build capacity. It also means working with regulators and tech platforms to make sustainability reporting more accessible and affordable. The goal is to make sustainability practical, not burdensome. So to the SMEs here today, I hope you will gain helpful insights from today's discussion and that the practical solutions showcased will spark ideas to begin right where you are. You don't need to have everything perfectly mapped out. Start by having conversations with your bank, your industry association, and your peers. Understand your baseline, explore what's available, and take steps that make sense for your business. Progress doesn't have to be big to be meaningful. Ladies and gentlemen, before I close, on behalf of the SFG members, I'd like to sincerely thank AG Madelena. Her unwavering support and leadership in sustainable finance have been instrumental in guiding our efforts and inspiring progress. AG, we look forward to hearing your keynote address shortly. We are also deeply grateful to Bank Negara Malaysia for its continued commitment to shaping a resilient and forward-looking financial ecosystem, and for empowering the industry to take collective action toward a more sustainable future. We also appreciate the trust placed in UOB to co-lead the SME focus group alongside the Joint Committee on Climate Change, a mandate we take seriously as we work together to turn ambition into impact. To our fellow member banks and ecosystem partners, thank you for your unwavering support in driving SME climate resilience. SMEs are central to Malaysia's climate journey, shaping not just industries, but communities. Lastly, Bank Negara's call for a whole-of-nation response is one I strongly stand behind. Building climate resilience takes all of us, SMEs, financial institutions, policymakers, and ecosystem partners working together. So to everyone in the room, thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ng Wei Wei, for the meaningful address. And to echo her message, sustainability takes collective action. Like Ms. Wei Wei, we also look forward to hear from AG Madelena Mohamed. So without further ado, we are deeply honored to invite AG Madelena Mohamed to deliver her keynote address. Please join me in welcoming Assistant Governor Madelena Mohamed to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang Berusaha Puan Salmah B, Executive Director of Market Development Securities Commission Malaysia, and my co-chair of Joint Committee on Climate Change, Ms. Ng Wei Wei, Chief Executive Officer, UOB Malaysia, CEOs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera, and a great morning. Some of you may have driven through Bukit Tunku to get here this morning. Along the winding road, you would have seen large, beautiful trees covering the hills. While you might have admired the greenery and feeling blessed, few of us would have been thinking about the roots of those trees. And so it is with SMEs, the roots beneath Malaysia's economic canopy. Just like root networks in a forest, SMEs hold up Malaysia's growing economy. 97% of business establishments in Malaysia are SMEs. The SME sector supports 8 million jobs and contributes nearly 40% of Malaysia's GDP. The 13th Malaysia Plan aims to further grow the sector's contribution to 50% of GDP by 2030. Climate action is costly, yet climate inaction is costlier, one which must be borne by our future generations. It is therefore my pleasure to be here today to speak on the responses to propel the decarbonization agenda forward. The theme for today's conference, Building Climate Resilience, Practical Actions for SMEs, is indeed timely to shape the actions needed now for a sustainable tomorrow. We will spend today going deeper into this, but before we begin, allow me to say a few words about why climate resilience matters for SMEs and to highlight practical steps that SMEs can take to build climate resilience. Climate resilience and sustainability in general is ultimately about securing stability. In a world with increasing uncertainty, stability is precious for businesses. With climate change, we must now deal with physical risk events like more frequent and severe floods, droughts, and weather disruptions. These events affect business operations. Businesses may face supply delays, damaged inventory, and loss of revenue. There's also what we call transition risk. That is the risk of being left behind as business norms shift to address climate change. As export markets and large corporates set net zero targets and seek to mitigate their own environmental footprint, SMEs are finding it increasingly important to navigate a growing alphabet soup of compliance regimes. NDPE, no deforestation, peat or exploitation. EUDR, European Union Deforestation Regulation. CBAM, or typically pronounced as CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Scope 1, 2, 3, the list goes on. Now, even here at home, Belanjawan 2026 introduced a carbon tax targeting high-emitting sectors such as iron, steel, and energy. Even if SMEs are not taxed yet, compliance will matter for firms along the supply chain. Climate resilience is not just about managing the physical and transition risks of climate change. There is, in fact, an element of opportunity for businesses. First, climate change creates new demand. For instance, the National Energy Transition Roadmap, NETR, which charts Malaysia's path to net zero by 2050, aims to mobilize 1.2 trillion investments and create over 300,000 jobs, green jobs. These opportunities are not limited to the large corporations. SMEs in solar installation, EV maintenance, green building materials, and waste recycling, for example, stand to benefit directly. Second, the current recalibration of global supply chains create a unique window of opportunity for Malaysia. As the world adjusts to evolving geopolitics and new technologies, there is growing interest in ASEAN as a relatively neutral and reliable trading partner. Even within ASEAN, the current 23% intra-regional trade has prospects to grow to at least 40%. But with this, Malaysia has a historic opportunity to quickly move up the value chain and seize this opportunity. But this requires the root network of our SMEs to be ready to meet the requirements of global and regional demand, including in sustainability standards and disclosures. Third, building climate resilience ultimately serves the bottom line. Many of the steps to transition also reduce everyday costs, better cooling and ventilation, lower electricity use, and reduce machine breakdowns. Digital tools for inventory and maintenance cut wastage and prevent costly delays. These are practical upgrades that pay for themselves over time. Resilience also strengthens a firm's commercial position. Businesses that can continue operating during bad weather or recover quickly from disruptions deliver more reliably to customers. Ladies and gentlemen, the financial sector has a role in helping SMEs navigate the uncertainties posed by climate change and make the most of new opportunities so that our economy can benefit from stable prosperity. As I alluded earlier, stronger roots, stronger forests. Organized under the leadership of the JC3 SME Focus Group, co-chaired by Bank Negara Malaysia and UOB Malaysia, along with 14 focus group members, this conference marks an important step forward in building a supportive ecosystem where knowledge, tools, and partnerships coalesce. I would like to extend my gratitude to the SME Focus Group for their dedication and hard work in bringing together distinguished speakers and working closely with the SME associations, key ministries, and government agencies, as well as solution providers to make this event a reality. Now, as for the SMEs present in this room, and I was told that there are more than 500 of you, whether you are here because you are curious and want to learn, or whether you are here because you want to know the know-how to go about embracing sustainability in your own business operations, or you are here to share and spread your experience, I want to congratulate you for taking this important step. So what can you, the SMEs, start doing today? Building climate resilience may sound complex, but it starts with 3 practical steps. So the first is to understand your risks and opportunities. As I've mentioned, climate change brings both challenges and openings. Begin by assessing where your business is exposed and where it can grow. Today, you will have a chance to learn more about this from the experts lined up. You can also find out several tools available for this. The JC3 ESG Jumpstart portal is a good place to start. It offers practical guides, training programs, as well as resources and on relevant certifications and financing opportunities. The JC3 Climate Data Catalog links you to data sets to support risk assessments such as flood maps for site decisions and drought projections for crop planning. The SME Loss Prevention Framework developed by Generali and UNDP is a digital tool to identify vulnerabilities, especially from flood exposure, and receive tailored recommendations. Second is to start measuring and reporting what matters. Increasingly, global trade counterparts are demanding sustainability-related data, particularly on carbon emission. Even if you're not selling directly to them, very often your local trade partners are part of a supply chain that ultimately sells to global markets, which have these reporting requirements. The Greening Value Chain program introduced by the JC3 provides a structured mechanism for SMEs to understand and measure your own carbon footprint, identify aspects of your business operations that can be more emission-friendly, begin tracking and reporting your emission. You should call on your banker to find out more about this. Later today, you will also learn about other measurement and disclosure tools and how these can open doors for your business to new supply chains. For instance, the Simplified ESG Disclosure Guide developed by Capital Markets Malaysia makes reporting more accessible for SMEs. This guide includes a GHG emissions calculator, which helps measure Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions in line with global standards. Third, finance your transition. Making your business climate resilient is an investment for stable, lasting growth. Lower operating costs, access to new markets, and stronger brand trust await those who act early. Financing is available to support you in this investment. You will hear today how to access these opportunities. Bank Negara Malaysia has allocated a sum of 3.6 billion ringgit in targeted facilities, such as the Low Carbon Transition Facility and the High Tech and Green Facility, to help SMEs take steps to build climate resilience and make most of the opportunities. Recently, we have also introduced the Relief and Adaptation Facility that helps SMEs improve resilience to flood, both through post-flood relief and proactive adaptation steps. Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia, along with 18 partner banks, has committed to a 1 billion ringgit portfolio guarantee scheme, specifically to support SMEs transition towards ESG principles. There are also several programs to support SMEs through a combination of public and private funding, which reduce the risk profiles of projects to make them more attractive for private investors. MySIF, administered by the Securities Commission Malaysia, supports SMEs in the agriculture and bioeconomy via equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer platforms. To date, this has mobilized 6.9 billion ringgit for over 9,000 SMEs, including 1.2 billion ringgit from government allocation. Similarly, NIMP COSIF, the National Industrial Master Plan 2030 Strategic Co-Investment Fund, launched by the Securities Commission Malaysia and MITI, facilitates fundraising in new growth areas, including electric vehicles, renewable energy, and carbon capture, utilization, and storage. The Climate Finance Innovation Lab, administered by Bank Pembangunan Malaysia, which came into action recently, is pioneering innovative financial structures and models for climate projects. Ladies and gentlemen, making the transition may feel daunting, but every big change starts with small first steps. As SMEs gather here today to learn, share challenges, and explore climate-aligned opportunities, this is a crucial moment for financial institutions to demonstrate leadership and commitment by providing the support SMEs and your clients need, be it capacity building, advisory, and access to finance. We have lined up a program to help SMEs size up your risks and opportunities, start measuring and reporting relevant data, and find financing for your transition. Remember, you are not alone. There is an entire ecosystem ready to support you, including fellow entrepreneurs who are on a similar journey. With their help, I'm confident that the SMEs in Malaysia can be a strong root network that support the canopy of Malaysia's economy to rise to greater, greener heights. With that, thank you, and I look forward to the exciting conference ahead.
Thank you, AG Madelena, for the inspiring message. We kindly invite AG Madelena to remain on the stage as we proceed to the next program. As what AG Madelena said, you are not alone. The financial sector has a role in helping SMEs navigate climate change. As such, as part of today's agenda, we are pleased to unveil the newly refreshed ESG Jumpstart portal, a one-stop platform developed by the JC3 SFG and now seamlessly integrated into the Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia Berhad, or CGC's imSME portal. We now invite our distinguished guests to the stage to officiate the launch of the new ESG Jumpstart portal. Please welcome to the stage Ms. Salma B. Muhammad Maidin, Ms. Ng Wei Wei, and Datuk Muhammad Zamri Muhammad Ishaq. The ESG Jumpstart portal aims to facilitate SMEs in kickstarting their sustainability journey. It was designed to make ESG simple and practical for SMEs, just what you need to get started on your ESG journey. By fully integrating with CGC's imSME portal, the platform brings ESG resources directly to where SMEs already go for financing support. For the launching, we invite Ms. Ng Wei Wei and Datuk Zamri to place their hands on the button console, witnessed by AG Madelena and Ms. Salma. And now let's take a quick pause here for a photo session. Now, let's begin the countdown for the launch of the newly refreshed ESG Jumpstart portal. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The JC3 SME Focus Group, in collaboration with CGC Digital, has refreshed the ESG Jumpstart portal, now seamlessly integrated on the imSME platform. This enhanced portal offers a better interface, smoother navigation, and easier access to practical ESG resources, reaffirming JC3's commitment to empowering SMEs in a fast-changing world. The ESG Jumpstart portal is designed to help SMEs navigate their ESG goals with clarity and confidence. With sustainability here to stay, the refreshed portal reintroduces SFG's efforts to imSME's audience of over 92,000 Malaysian SMEs with 26,000 monthly visitors. Getting started with ESG can feel overwhelming. The Jumpstart Guide makes it simple, with clear step-by-step practical actions designed for SMEs. Need help along the way? Check out tools, events, and expert resources, all curated to support your sustainability journey. Looking to get certified? We've simplified the process with a list of recognized organizations to guide you. Need financing or protection? Find ESG-friendly options, all in one place, designed for SMEs. Your ESG journey begins here. Explore the ESG Jumpstart portal on imSME today.
Congratulations on the successful launch of the portal. We kindly invite our VVIPs to the center of the stage for a group photo session. We would also like to invite Ms. Yoshida Hussein, Chief Executive Officer of CGC Digital, to join the photo session. And now can we have a thumbs up photo? To commemorate this important milestone, we would also like to invite the SFG co-chairs, CEOs, and senior management representatives of JC3 SFG member institutions to the stage for a photo session. The SME Focus Group, SFG, is a subcommittee of the Joint Committee on Climate Change, JC3, a regulator industry platform established to coordinate efforts to improve Malaysia's readiness to tackle the various impacts arising from climate change. SFG is tasked with helping Malaysian SMEs to embrace sustainability and to facilitate their transition towards a low-carbon economy. Apart from improving SMEs' awareness and understanding of ESG, SFG also devises strategies to promote SME uptake of green initiatives and financing. Please join us in giving a round of applause to the JC3 SME Focus Group for their valued contributions to develop the ESG Jumpstart portal. With its modern look, intuitive navigation, and user-friendly design, the ESG Jumpstart portal delivers a streamlined experience for SMEs. It offers curated ESG resources, step-by-step guides, self-assessment tools, and direct access to green financing, making sustainability adoption simpler, smarter, and more actionable. Thumbs up photo? Thank you, AG Madelena and our distinguished guests. You may now return to your seats. In recent years, Malaysia has experienced a growing number of flood events, posing serious challenges to communities and businesses. As these events become more frequent and severe, the need for proactive adaptation measures beyond public flood mitigation efforts has become increasingly urgent. In response, Bank Negara Malaysia has enhanced its disaster relief facility, transforming it into the Relief and Adaptation Facility, or RAFt. This initiative is designed to support SMEs in strengthening their flood preparedness and building long-term business resilience, just like preparing a raft before the storm. So without further ado, let's move on to Showcase 2 From Floods to Fortitude, RAFt, for SMEs Recovery and Resilience by Bank Negara Malaysia. After a short video, we would have Ms. Nurjana Ahmad from Bank Negara Malaysia's Financial Inclusion Department to share more on this initiative. So now let's turn our attention to the short video.
Banjir, musibah tahunan yang terus menguji ketabahan rakyat Malaysia.
Beginilah keadaan pada ketika ini yang kita boleh lihat yang mana kebanyakan penduduk di sini terpaksa menyelamatkan harta benda.
Tidak mungkin kita lupa banjir besar sekitar akhir tahun 2021.
Hi, my name is Madelena from Heng Seng Hardware. This one is one of branches Taman Seri Muda. Taman Seri Muda is the worst and first time I made this disaster flood. It takes few hour time. It's right up, the water level rise up and cover all my raking and my inventory of the ground floor, totally covered up. 2 million of loss included inventory, raking, furniture, and all my cashier, computer, and also opportunity cost of shutdown.
Banjir dahsyat ini telah mengakibatkan kerugian sebanyak 6.1 bilion ringgit kepada negara kita.
Recent projections show that climate change, land use change, and rapid urbanization in flood-prone areas continue to increase the risk and frequency of flood events. We cannot remove floods entirely, so we must learn to live with them. This is the heart of adaptation. Adaptation means targeted, cost-effective measures that reduce flood risk and increase resilience. This could be low-cost preparedness and operational changes to engineered or nature-based interventions. Measures such as flood-proofing facilities or diversifying supply chains protect critical assets and revenue streams. This also reduces recovery time after extreme events. Many may be unaware of available financial mechanisms for recovery or lack the capital to invest in adaptation.
Tahukah anda, kini dengan kemudahan bantuan dan adaptasi oleh Bank Negara Malaysia, PKS boleh mendapatkan pembiayaan sebagai langkah awal untuk lebih bersedia menghadapi risiko banjir. Melalui RAFt, PKS berpeluang mendapatkan dua jenis bantuan, iaitu pembiayaan bantuan dan pembiayaan adaptasi. Pembiayaan bantuan banjir terus tersedia bagi membolehkan PKS meneruskan operasi perniagaan selepas bencana banjir. Manakala, pembiayaan adaptasi banjir bertujuan untuk membantu PKS mengambil langkah proaktif dalam mengurus atau mengurangkan risiko dan kerugian perniagaan akibat banjir. RAFt menyokong PKS untuk berdaya tahan dan terus maju menempuh cabaran perubahan iklim. Bagi PKS yang ingin memohon pembiayaan adaptasi banjir di bawah RAFt, ikuti langkah 5M ini.
Every action you take strengthens not just your business and cash flow, but the wider system that sustains them. I would say for SMEs is to start small and start now.
Banjir datang tanpa diduga, tetapi kini dengan RAFt, anda lebih bersedia.
SME leaders, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tan's story is just one of the few that we've encountered on the ground. Let me share another. One family-owned business, a manufacturer of food and health products, recounted to us their long road to recovery from the 2021 floods. It took them 3 days for the floodwaters to recede, 2 weeks for electricity to be fully restored, a total of 6 weeks for cleaning up. Only then could they begin a long and costly recertification process, crucial for their line of business. Overall, it cost the company over 1 million ringgit to rebuild. But that doesn't even begin to capture the emotional toll and trauma. They told us how at one point during the recovery period, they seriously considered quitting. Fortunately, with grit, relief financing, and other support, they managed to pull through. Since then, they've taken what steps they can, raising machinery, monitoring alerts, having an emergency plan. Now, with the many floods and flash floods that Malaysia is exposed to, there must be thousands more SME stories like this, even among us today. And they all sing the same tune, that recurring floods set SMEs back, when they are the ones who can least afford repeated disruptions. Stories like this strengthen our conviction at Bank Negara that we simply can't sit on the sidelines. That's why we launched RAFt, to spark action by SMEs, bankers, insurers, solution providers, and experts alike. And on that, Assistant Governor Suhaimi Ali has more to say. While he's not able to join us in person today, AG shares his hopes and aspirations for RAFt in this next video. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. The video we just watched says it all. Floods in Malaysia are no longer just a seasonal inconvenience. They have become more frequent, more damaging, and far more costly to recover from. In the last 3 years alone, Malaysia recorded nearly 1 billion ringgit in flood-related damages every single year. And if we don't adapt, a joint World Bank BNM study warns that climate impacts could cost us up to 4.1% of GDP by 2030. But behind those numbers are real stories. Families, communities, and small businesses trying to rebuild their lives, often from scratch. SMEs in particular face the hardest hit. They are 50% more likely than larger firms to suffer severe flood losses. And many of them simply don't have the knowledge or the financial cushion to recover quickly. Even when they want to take preventive action, many just don't know where to start. And that is why Bank Negara Malaysia reoriented our disaster relief facility into what we now call the Relief and Adaptation Facility, or RAFt. RAFt goes beyond short-term relief. It is about helping businesses prepare, adapt, and recover confidently and sustainably. Adaptation isn't about fighting nature. It is about learning to rise with it, to stay afloat, to stay strong, and to stay ready. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey toward climate resilience is one we cannot walk alone. The financial sector has a critical role to play, not only in enabling adaptation, but in championing it. To our partners in the banking industry, we encourage you to collaborate with technical experts, solution providers, and insurers. Let's make RAFt truly impactful. The framework and principles are already there, but the real difference happens when you connect the dots, linking SMEs with advisory support, practical flood-proofing solutions, and risk financing. And as we help businesses adapt, we must also help them protect, because insurance remains one of the most effective tools to manage residual flood risk, especially the rare but devastating 1-in-100-year floods. Making flood insurance accessible and affordable isn't just a financial goal, it is a moral responsibility. To our SMEs, let me say this clearly: adaptation is not a burden. It is a strategic investment in your peace of mind, your competitiveness, and your future. Every monsoon season brings anxiety, the sleepless nights when rain doesn't stop, the disruption, and the losses. RAFt exists to help ease that fear, to make the cost of preparedness manageable and recovery faster, because the cost of doing nothing will only get higher with time. So ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, let's remember adaptation is a shared responsibility for policymakers, financial institutions, and businesses alike. Our responses to climate change must be faster, more strategic, and more inclusive. I truly believe the financial sector can be a game changer. Use RAFt as a stepping stone to build your risk appetite and gain experience in financing climate resilience. Over time, we hope this will catalyze more innovative, accessible, and affordable climate finance products. And I am especially encouraged that SME Bank is leading the way by piloting RAFt. It is a promising start, and I hope to see more banks stepping up. I look forward to the day when we can share the success stories of SMEs who no longer fear the rain, businesses that stand tall because they have built the resilience to weather any storm. So, thank you again for your commitment and for being part of this important journey. I wish you all a productive and inspiring day ahead. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Assistant Governor Suhaimi and Nurjana, for the informative and insightful sharing. During our sessions throughout the day, we'll display a QR code on the screen to take questions from the floor for the Q&A section and to answer the respective poll questions. Please feel free to scan the QR code using your mobile phones to submit your questions or views to the panelists. Today's first panel will be Future-Proofing SMEs, Climate Risk, Opportunities and Strategic Actions. We'll dive into a crucial topic for today's business landscape. This session explores how climate-related regulations, market trends, and ESG expectations are reshaping the way business operates. We'll uncover why sustainability is more than just a compliance requirement. It's a strategic advantage that helps SMEs stay competitive and resilient in a low-carbon economy. Our panelists will share practical strategies and mindset shifts to kickstart or accelerate climate action. By the end of this session, SMEs will gain clarity on available support and resources, emerging opportunities in the green economy, and finally, a deeper understanding of why integrating sustainability into core business decisions is essential for long-term resilience. To start, please join me in welcoming our esteemed moderator and panelists to the stage. Moderating today's session is Mr. Ahmad Hanif Jamaluddin, Deputy Director in the Financial Inclusion Department of Bank Negara, Malaysia, overseeing the business financing ecosystem. Joining him on the panel are Dr. Wong Wai Kuen, Senior Principal, Assistant Director, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry Malaysia, MITI. Mr. Leong Si Meng, Director of Origination and Listings, Bursa Malaysia. Mr. Azizi Mustafa, Chief Executive Officer, Malaysian Industrial Development Finance Berhad, MIDF. Dr. Wira Lim Chun Cheong, Chairman, the Associated Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia, ACCCIM. I now hand over the floor to Mr. Hanif.
Thank you, Evie, for the very kind introduction just now. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. 97% of Malaysia's businesses are SMEs. And together they employ half of our total workforce. Now picture what happens if SMEs are not climate ready in a global economy where sustainability increasingly defines competitiveness and trust. In the current context, climate readiness is no longer optional. It is a strategic imperative for resilience and growth. This panel will unpack the challenges and opportunities SMEs face in going green and explore practical strategies to future-proof their businesses in an evolving global economy. To kick off the discussion, I'll start with MITI and then Bursa. So hopefully this will shed some light into for us to understand the government's policy direction, as well as broad opportunities for SMEs. Now, first question, Dr. Wong. MITI has led key initiatives such as the IESG, the NIMP 2030. So what are some of the major unfolding ESG-related market developments or regulatory shifts that Malaysian SMEs should prepare for? How is the ministry helping SMEs navigate these emerging challenges and position growth opportunities? Yeah, silakan, Doctor.
Thank you. Good morning. Salam Malaysia Madani. My name is Wong from MITI, and I'll be happy to share with you some of the key development coming from the MITI end. If you're familiar with what we do, we look into the 3 pillars with regards on developing the Malaysian industry, specifically on investment, on trade front, as well, of course, on the industrial development. So under the IESG framework, for those that may not be familiar, and this is a very quick snapshot I'm showing here, we look into 4 pillars to assist our industry to transform and to pursue on their ESG adoption. Here we have the standards, the financing, capacity building, and market mechanism. Very quickly, I just want to share for the past 2 years or so, since we launched the IESG framework, has been the international regulation that are coming in fast, and it impacts our industry on a very severe and unintended ways as well. The EUDR specifically mentioned about the deforestation source, right? You have to make sure that your product right now, wood product, palm oil, even chocolate and so forth, now will have to undergo a very extensive traceability of the supply chain. That's number 1. CBAM is a very interesting development. When it was first announced a few years back, at the time, we are not exactly sure about the parameters. But nonetheless, we incorporated CBAM as one of a key driver to pursue IESG framework. What happened now is that EU is revising the parameters, the threshold, but interestingly, coming from our industry, our steel producer are actually reaching out to the buyers in EU by declaring their carbon content already. And what is even more interesting is there's no mandate for them to do so in Malaysia yet. And they're not listed, by the way. They're not listed company, therefore they're not under the Bursa purview. Now, the EU actually have more information about the carbon profile of our steel producer as compared to what we have here in Malaysia. So that's the second development. Lastly would be the CSDDD, Due Diligence Directive, introduced by EU. This is the one that really has an impact across the whole sector, I would say. When we came back 2 months ago, conducting our Canal ESG program, we were so surprised that when we went to Penang, the Seberang Perai area, those that came for our event to learn about ESG are actually coming from the food industry, F&B. Why? Because suddenly the EU buyers request them to do all the list of compliance, annual survey question, and so forth. So this is some of the key regulations coming from abroad that are impacting our industry through and through. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. I think, thank you for outlining the IESG framework with the 4 pillars: standards, capacity building, financing, market mechanisms. And to me, clearly, I see this as not only a compliance tool, but as you have mentioned through your analogies, right? So it is also something that, facilitates or enables the SMEs to compete, given an edge for the SMEs. So building on that, let's turn to the capital market perspective. Siming, Bursa has been a strong advocate for sustainability, particularly through the disclosure requirements. Could you share the latest in sustainability reporting and how these trends might impact the SMEs, whether directly or indirectly?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Siming. I run the Securities market at Bursa Malaysia. The exchange itself has actually been a forefront of the whole sustainability movement for quite a number of years. Back in 2015, we instituted the Sustainability Reporting Framework obligation on public listed companies. And along the way, with the recent introduction of IFRS S1 and S2 in line with ISSB, and the launch of the National Sustainability Reporting Framework by the Securities Commission, the exchange has actually come out with a framework that comprises of 3 groupings. We've broken it down into 3 groupings primarily because we understand that the embracing sustainability brings about different challenges for different companies of all shapes and sizes. Therefore, we're breaking it down based on the size of the company as the main key differentiator. In Group 1, for example, we are looking at main board listed companies with turnover above 2 billion. Now, if you fall within that category, you have a climate first reporting initiative that kicks in from January 1st this year. And that carries on into a full IFRS S1 and S2 reporting 2 years later in 2027. Now, what do I mean by climate first reporting? Climate first reporting, it's a framework where the exchange has designed that requires the companies to actually report the impact of climate on their businesses. Not only the impact, but also opportunities within visibility, a line of sight. For example, I mean, if you are operating in a business that, let's say, like the video, for example, you run a chain of hardware shops across Malaysia and you have a turnover in excess of 2 billion, you need to account for the climate risk that impacts your business. In that case, in the first video, you saw that flooding is a key risk. So you need to accommodate and account for that in your reporting. Group 2 is broken down into main board companies with turnover below 2 billion. And the compliance framework kicks in on January 1st next year, 2026. And the full IFRS S1 and S2 requirement will kick in 2 years later, which is 28. Then comes the bulk bracket. As you know, the crux of the nation, as illustrated by both AG Madelena as well as Wei a moment ago, that there are 1.1 million of registered SMEs in the country, of which 70% of them are actually micro SMEs. 28% are mid-sized, and only a fraction of 2.8% are likely to be the MTC or larger SME type of category. Now, the exchange itself plays a key role in terms of how sustainability unfolds for the nation. Primarily because we are part of the funding escalator where you usually start from entrepreneur type funding that they fund themselves all the way up to bank financing, venture capital, and they start to talk to the exchange when they want to tap money or capital from the public. That's where the exchange is important. And we realize that there are a lot of SMEs with aspirations to grow beyond their imagination that's possible now. Like at Bursa Malaysia, we have, this year in particular, we have 39 ACE company listings, which comprises of primarily SME market. Now, the ACE market companies are categorized under Group 3, where reporting obligation kicks in a year after Group 2, which is 2027. And thereafter, your IFRS S1 and S2 requirements will kick in 2030. What the exchange has done to facilitate the entry point, because the embracing sustainability can be a big thing in the sense that there's no formula. It's not like A plus B equals to C and you report it in that manner, or B plus C equals to A. There's a lot of so-called different YouTube videos, for example, that you can watch that gives you a different perspective of it. What the exchange has done is the exchange has attempted to streamline reporting requirements and tools into a tool called the Centralized Sustainability Intelligence, the CSI solution that you see in the slide there. Now, it's more than a platform. We start as a platform is because it enables listed companies on Bursa Malaysia or companies about to be listed. And by the way, it's a free tool with free access to SMEs. All of you here today can actually get free access to the tool, even if you're not listed. Bursa Malaysia has a booth outside, which during your break time, I encourage you to visit our CSI solution booth to get an insight to see how CSI solution can help you measure your scope 1 emission, your scope 2 emission, and your scope 3 emission. AJ Madelena was talking about her alphabet soup. By and large, scope 1 emissions are emissions that results from assets that you own. Scope 2 is from your consumption, like from the electricity, for example. And scope 3 are the emission, in short, for your upstream and downstream suppliers. Now, the platform, why CSI is important is because your customers, should you be supplying to a bigger outfit that has a reporting obligation on scope 3, should you be exporting into the EU, for example, that your customers will require you to share with them and measure your carbon footprint. And CSI platform offers a very good opportunity for you to use this the platform to measure your footprint. Now, because it's centralized, let's say if you're an SME operating in Malaysia, supplying to 10 different companies that require you to report your carbon footprint to them, there's no requirement for you to do it 10 times. You just do it once on CSI, and your suppliers will be able to tap onto CSI to get their reporting information. So we realized that being part of the supply chain is very important. And the exchange has also tied up with key financial institutions, like if you have been following the press in the last 2 months, we signed an MOU together with UOB, for example, to work together on how the CSI platform can collaborate with funding. Before I take up too much time, I think I better hand the mic back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Simeng. Yeah, I know, Dr. Wong and Simeng, I know both of you have a lot more insights to share, and I'm keen to have know more on that. But we'll get back to you. But for now, let's bring the financial industry's perspective. Azizi, from a bank's standpoint, what are the most critical ESG or climate-related expectations SMEs need to address to remain competitive and resilient? Where do you see the biggest gap? And how is MIDF working to close or try to close those gaps by working with the SMEs? Go ahead.
Thank you, Janif. Assalamualaikum, good morning. What we are seeing right now, there are more, I would say, the increasing ESG and climate expectations that becoming more like gateways to competitiveness. It's no longer compliance, so to speak. So in order for the SMEs to remain resilient and competitive, I would think there are three expectations that they have to manage. One is the market access and supply chain. I think, as we know, more and more MNCs right now, they mandated, all these companies, to disclose and to reduce their what I call the carbon emission, for example, and that goes together with their suppliers. And the government, for example, are also imposing more and more stricter requirements, tightening all the carbon and also the environmental rules. And this goes along with our SMEs, for example, that are involved in the export market. I think CBAM, for example, they requires a lot of disclosure in terms of the sustainability requirement and so forth. So if the SMEs are not able to comply, to go along with this, they tend to lose in terms of their market accessibility. And the second thing I would say that the more on the cost efficiency and also energy transition. With the rising cost of input costs, for example, the electricity, the fuel, SMEs basically, they have no choice. They have to start embarking on digitalization, modernization, automation to reduce their costs. And ultimately, by reducing their costs, they will be able to have a proper or the improved profit margin. And the third thing is the access to financing and also investors' confidence. I think that we are seeing the increasing trend right now whereby banks and investors, they are basically taking ESG risk as also financial risk. So this is very important for SMEs that are able to demonstrate better financing, better compliance, so to speak, to all these sustainability will have a better options, in terms of the accessing to financing, and also will boost the confidence, of the investors. With regard to the gaps, I'd just like to draw your attention to some of the things from this slide here. If you see from the top table on the right hand, awareness basically over the years, I think this survey was done by one of the banks together with one of the associations. If you see from the top, basically the awareness basically has almost like increased by 4-fold, over the period of 2 years from 2023 to 2025. Nonetheless, the readiness for the adoption, has gone slightly less in terms of the attraction, only double, from 2023 to 2025. So basically what it says that a lot of companies, yes, they're aware, about the importance of sustainability, about the climate change and everything, but the readiness to adopt is still low. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, there was another survey done, I can't recall by the SME Corp or SME Association, only about 12% of the SMEs basically are willing to adopt or ready to adopt, despite the fact that almost 2/3 of the recipients, the participants basically say they're fully aware of the importance of sustainability. And if I were to refer to the left-hand side of the table, basically these are the challenges faced by the SMEs. And I can conclude basically a few things here. The barriers basically boils down to lack of knowledge, lack of expertise, lack of the resources, the tools, and also unfortunately many SMEs are still think sustainability or the ESG is additional cost to them. Yeah, so I think that what is important for the SMEs to understand the ESG or the sustainability basically now is the opportunity. Should be seen not as a burden, but an opportunity for them to grow their business. Yeah, is for them to tackle the risk that moving forward. And the last thing that I would like to share, from this slide here, which is quite interesting, that the financial support from banks apparently is not really the key thing. Yeah, you can see the one at on the top at the bottom. Bank support is only about 22%. That is what the SME is participating in this survey mentioned. So just to kind of like summarize, in terms of the expectations, I think the SMEs basically they must be able to do all this compliance to the ESG. They must take it as a business opportunity, as a growth opportunity for them. And if they're able to do it, they'll be able to basically have better access to capital. They will have better access to the export market, and they can build a stronger confidence, among the investors. As far as the support from MIDF, I suppose, we are a DFI. As a DFI, our role is basically to enable SMEs. And I would highlight the two things, that we are doing right now. Apart from providing the financing, we have, government, we are managing the government funds basically. So we are providing a lot of cheaper funds, for the SMEs to embark, to modernize, to invest in energy efficient machinery and so forth. But apart from providing financing, I think not only MIDF, I suppose, a lot of other banks, a lot of the non-government or non-banks, they're also doing all this capability or the capacity building, providing advisories, and in our case, we do provide advisories. We partner with some of the business experts to bring SMEs or to handhold them so that they know where to start and how they can progress further. So those are the things that we are doing right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Azizi, for highlighting, the key barriers SMEs face in adopting ESG and for sharing how MIDF try to address these gaps through financing and support. I suppose for me, the insights on readiness levels as well as sectoral differences are particularly important, as we, this could inform. This would be could inform on where interventions are most needed. So I think this segues nicely to the last, question for this round, to Datuk Wira. Last but certainly not least, in fact, if I may, I think, the business community perspective, arguably, this could be the most important viewpoint in this conversation. So Datuk Wira, Encik Azizi mentioned just now in terms of awareness, it's 60%, but in terms of adoption, it's only 48%. Among your SME members, how are climate and environmental issues being ranked compared to other pressing concerns like tariffs, SST, e-invoicing, etc.? So are SMEs starting to see sustainability as a strategic priority, or it is still viewed as a burden? And what might help any shift in that mindset, if it is true?
Good morning, everybody. I'm from National Chinese Chamber of Commerce. Regarding the mindset, well, the SME, normally, they prioritize the profit and operation over the long-term sustainability goal. And they have the mindset that they have a mindset that this climate change, right, is for the public company, for the compliance purpose, right? And they always think that if they don't export their product to the EU or US, or they don't supply any of their product to the multinational company in Malaysia, right, they are not so concerned about this GST, this environment, right? But what they don't realize is this environment impact is, we are talking about the supply chain. Even if you are the intermediary, right, you are still subject to all this. And the other reason is that by its nature, SME have a limited manpower and limited capital and lack of this knowledge of this ESG. In a lot of cases, this SME, right, the owner itself are the one who oversee the operation, as well as to have to go out to do the sales, right? Or the admin manager not only have to do the admin work, but at the same time also have to take care of human resources or maybe the procurement. So you can imagine the lack of time to study this ESG. And then the other one is a lack of capital. Some of this cleaner machinery or energy efficient machinery may cost a few $1 million, right? So for SME, they lack of this fund. So they are still stick with their old machine, right? Still stick with their old machine, which consume a lot of energy, at the same time may emit a lot of carbon dioxide. And the other reason is this ESG, right, evolving very fast over the last 10 years. For a big corporation like Petronas or Samdabi, they have a ESG department. And for a public listed company, most likely they will engage a consultant to guide them, right? But this consultant is not cheap. It may cost them 50,000 to more than 100,000 per year, depending on how much the training you require. So you can imagine for SME, right? If you ask them to spend 100,000, which I don't think they are quite, they will be quite reluctant, right? So the second part of my question is, what might shift that mindset? Well, one thing is maybe one day when you read the newspaper, right, he discovered that the government just passed a law, right, imposing something just like a carbon tax next year, right, and which may affect their operation. And the other one is one day he may discover that one of his major contract or major sales order been cancelled, right, due to non-ESG compliance. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Dato'. Yes, very interesting take on that. I think a lot of us would have had that conversation with many SME owners as well, that they know it is important, they know the benefits, but should it be now or not? But based on the way you just explained that to Wira, I think you are a proponent of doing it now, right? So let us, building on that, let's just shift gears to focus on some potential solutions. So Dato' Wira again, from ACCCIM's perspective, what is the Chamber's aspiration when it comes to advancing climate action among SMEs? And if you could highlight 2 or 3 key enablers that would accelerate sustainability transition, what would be at the top of your wish list? I think this is important because we have, policymakers here, we have banks here. So what is it that the SME desires that we can all participate or facilitate? Yeah, go ahead, Dato'.
Our National Chinese Chamber of Commerce, we started this ESG committee in 2021, right? So since then, we have been playing a very active role in supporting this business community in their ESG journey. And we are committed to help our members to understand and adopt ESG practice through dialogue and guidance. So over the years, we have organized a lot of seminars. Most likely is in collaboration with this bank. Right, so we have collaborate with this UOB, HSBC, and Affin Bank, just to name a few. Just like in next 2 weeks, on the November 28th, we have a seminar, right, together with this HSBC, right? It's a half-day seminar. And 3 years ago, we also organized this seminar in collaboration with Swedish Embassy. So we have a series of seminar. The first one is on the E. So what the Swedish Embassy do is they invited a few Swedish company operate in Malaysia, just like Volvo and SKF, to explain to us what have they done on the E environment. And the following years, we organized another one on the S. So what we do is we invited 2 or 3 Swedish companies and at the same time 2 or 3 local companies, so we can see the difference, right, on what they have done on the S. That means the workplace safety and the workers' well-being. And the last one is on the G. So last year, we managed to invite some NGO, right? And there's one director who work in the United Nations, but based in Malaysia, to talk about corruption and human rights. So it's quite interesting. For your information, this seminar organized by Chinese Chambers is open to all Malaysian. It's not limited to just Chinese, right? So second part of my question is any way to accelerate this ESG adoption by SME? Well, to me, as I just now mentioned, the SME prioritize on their profit, right? So anything that can help them to save money, right, will be the best. So to me, I think as tax, I know there's a lot of tax incentive, right? but maybe the government can do more. And the other one is Bursa have this mandatory training for the public listed company directors. So maybe the SSM should also have this mandatory training for the SME company. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Datuk. So this, I hope Bursa and probably MITI take note. But anyway, those priorities give us a sense of what the business community desires. So yeah, I think I'll invite Simei and Azizi to provide some comments on that one, on solutions. But before that, maybe just circling back to Dr. Wong. SMEs that adopt sound ESG practices or greener business model, what kinds of opportunities could they tap into both locally and internationally? Are there any particular sectors or markets where climate-aligned SMEs are likely to gain any competitive edge? Yeah.
Okay, to answer that, I probably have to give a bit of context. For the first part of this year, there's not much ESG movement coming from our end, because at the time the SME were concerned about the tariff. Only after June, I recall, after the conclusion of the e-invoicing, then only the SME Association, the industry, FMM, started pushing the ESG agenda. At that time, we are also considering how we can assist our industry by expanding beyond just the US market. Because of 20% tariff, we are now trying to actively assist our exporter to go beyond there. For information, right now, every time a Matrade, our agency that promotes Malaysian service provider abroad, whenever they go to EU market or developed market, the first thing the buyers over there will request is whether our exhibitors coming from Malaysia, do they even have any simple sustainability report on? That is just an entry ticket only, basic requirement for you to enter the market so that they can see what is your ESG information. So you see this as a competitive edge. Malaysia is moving far ahead, compared to the rest of our peer in the ASEAN region, even as good as Singapore at par. So when we go abroad and when we look at other countries coming in, Malaysian exporters, if they really put their heart and mind into it, you can actually move ahead. That's number one. Number two, falling back on the question of Dr. Wira, his observation is spot on. It's all about, for the SME owners, it's all about the ROI. So the first lesson we learned after introducing our outreach, everywhere we go, we bring our banks and our FI. Why? Because they are always the most popular talk in our whole session. The moment our banks sit down and start sharing with them what is what RE project return, ROI, within how many 5 years you can get back this much, you can claim this much from the government, the owners themselves, the procurement officer will immediately see the benefit to them already. So that would be the immediate hook, so to speak, starting on the E journey. But the S journey, unfortunately, is a totally different matter. Just to share, last week also, the Swedish Embassy organized a net zero event. They told me that right now, for Volvo, especially Volvo based in the EU, the first thing they will ask any of the supplier is that when you make this product, let's say that this particular screw, what is the carbon content? The first thing they will ask is that, because all these companies, big companies in EU are looking at minimizing the carbon footprint. So companies will have to go in with very concrete data on their carbon emission so that they can actually start pitching. For this particular screw, there are 10 ways of making it, which one is, you can actually streamline the emission and so on. This is the detail of the requests coming from the buyers from abroad already. And it has a trickle-down effect across the whole of supply chain in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Can I add on to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sure. I'll give a different paradigm to that from that perspective. As I mentioned earlier, the exchange is part of the funding escalator. And part of the role of the exchange is actually to give optics. Now, what we have done in January this year is we have rolled out the renewable energy subsector within, as Bursa Malaysia have got 13 sectors, so within the energy subsector and within the utility subsector. What we have found out is that for companies who embrace the renewable energy space, they get classified under the renewable energy subsector classification. The last year, the total market cap for the RE sector was about 10 billion, and there's a 30% growth to this year to 13 billion. And there are 10 of them on the, the main market, and 6 of them on the ACE market. Now, the difference in price-earning ratio comparison, because the investors are a bit more learned nowadays, and the top of the bar in terms of the energy sector, you get a PE ratio of close to 38 times, whereas at the bottom of the league table, it's only about 3.5 times. And out of the top 7, 6 of them are RE players. This shows that the market is starting to show and differentiate what is green and what is not green, or what is sustainable and what's less sustainable from that end. Thank you.
Yeah, interestingly, that was probably what I was going to ask you. But anyway, if you look from the ACE market perspective, I think, so would there be what you call, how shall I put it, the attractiveness to investors? So the what you call a strong climate strategy or green business model that definitely, I mean, Bursa sees a trend that is what you call, there is a preference from investors towards these companies. So in terms of, I mean, I had a glance at the profile of those attending this conference today. The majority, or a lot of them, are the medium-sized SMEs, which may, are aiming access to the equity capital listing through the ACE markets. So any direct advice, or what would you say to them, message to them?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a line of Dato' Wira's earlier statement where he mentioned that the bottom line is on top of the mind, top priority for all SMEs. Anything that costs me money, I would give it a second thought from that perspective. Now, not reacting to climate action is actually going to cost you a lot more money down the road if you do nothing. The part of the role of the exchange is also to educate not only listed companies or soon to be listed companies, but our stakeholders at large, which is also the SMEs in general. Now, there are 5 things that I can tell you why you should adopt climate action today. The first one, it's always about, remember I spoke about the funding escalator? Throughout your journey as a growing company, you will speak to different stakeholders along your life, where it could be the banks, it could be private equity companies, or it could be down the road ACE market investors. Now, investors are becoming increasingly discerning, and fund managers that manages their funds, or even banks, for example, the shareholders of banks are actually putting a lot of pressure on banks to actually look at ethical financing, things that are good for society, which includes climate action. Now, if you don't do anything, the company is going to be less appealing to people that will provide you with capital resources. You will soon find that it will be increasingly difficult to get funding, be it capital funding, bank financing, or even attracting investors. Like if you're going to market, for example, you're going to tap the capital markets, and you get your investment bank to run a foreign roadshow to place out your equity. Once you hit the European markets, you will find that the fund managers will be asking you for your carbon footprint, primarily because 2 reasons. One, the money that they get to manage may have an ethical requirement. The second part is on the EU taxonomy, where there's a requirement for fund managers to disclose their carbon footprint. Now, the second part I touch on briefly. I mentioned 5 points. The second one is on your cost of financing. Can being climate friendly actually reduce your cost of financing? The answer is technically yes. I won't touch on the EV because EV is a sensitive topic, but I would touch on perhaps your geographical footprint. Is the area that you're operating in flood prone down the road? Would it be above below sea level 30 years down the road, for example, because funders are increasingly profiling people they give financial resources to quantify the climate risk. So with that perspective, you would see that the pricing will start to be discriminated between safer companies and companies that are more susceptible to climate risk. The third one, it's about partnerships. Now, as you go and embark on this journey, I think you spoke about Volvo, for example, where they look for supplier partners with a lower carbon footprint. Now, if you are deep in the climate journey or you are embracing the climate journey, you will be able to reap benefits from the supply chain part by finding like-minded partners. Or should I say, like-minded partners will be finding you attractive. So that's a very key benefit. The fourth part is on risk mitigation. Now, there's a lot of talk on adaptation. I won't touch on that. But what a lot of people don't realize is the transition risk is actually quite big for a lot of companies. Imagine the next week, the government would say that for all companies offering hauling services or delivery services, you have to go EV. So what happens to the delivery companies? They can't adapt fast enough, or usage of plastic. And the last one is, of course, your bottom line. By doing this, you have sustainability in terms of revenue. You can potentially have lower cost of financing. Plus, you have investors to support you all the way. That should be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Siming. Now, before we go into questions, before we open the floor for questions, maybe from the banking side, Encik Azizi, what kind of support do Malaysian financial institutions provide or can provide to help SMEs kickstart their sustainability journey? And then are you observing any trends in how the banks, the financiers are prioritizing green businesses over others?
Okay, thank you. I think it's not so much of the which banks or the products that bank offers to SME in order for them to adopt the sustainability or ESG. I think that I have a slide here. Basically, you can see from can I add the slide? But anyway, you can see from the slide, that so many banks basically are offering green-related financing. I think all the sponsors here, all the members here, basically they have products that they can support. But the challenge is more on the access to this financing, because I think the shift is very clear right now. For financial institutions, they are shifting their focus on how they basically assess and allocate capital. And the shift is very clear, basically. Sustainability is increasingly being favored. So if you have projects, that move towards green, towards sustainability, you will have a better or upper cuts, in terms of assessing the products, which I think one of the questions, from the attendees is which bank offers basically the cheapest rate. So I think that if you have very good projects, you have green project, that can help the entire ecosystem, for example, definitely, you have the upper cut, to negotiate with the bankers. So for me, as I said, all the banks basically have, all the products suitable for your needs. It is a matter of whether you are able to qualify for that financing or not. Apart from providing financing, a lot of financial institutions, as I mentioned just now, they also provide all this capacity and capability building. Not only banks, perhaps non-banks as well, government agencies, associations, for example, they provide a lot of hand-holding, provide a lot of this technical advisory, capacity building on ESG readiness, for example, energy audits, from decarbonization, training, and so forth. And all this ecosystem basically will assist, SMEs not only to have a better grip of financing, but also to unlock their new business opportunities. And in terms of the trend, as I mentioned just now, more and more banks right now favored sustainability-related project of financing. And SMEs that investing in clear technology, for example, energy efficiency equipment, renewable energy, basically, they can have a better positions, to negotiate and also to better what I call the accessibility to financing. And I think Simeng mentioned about investors right now. Just now, and I think hit the nail, right on the top. Investors basically, they prefer what I call the climate-aligned business, because they don't see sustainability or ESG as CSR activity anymore. It's more like a driver of the future competitiveness and also the business growth.
Yeah, thank you, Azizi. I think we are approaching the end of our session, but do we have time for questions? Yeah, probably we can take 2 questions. So, yeah, we open the floor for questions now. Please feel free to raise your hands. Our ushers will be on hand to provide the microphones. Okay. So, if not, probably, would there be any questions from the Slido? Okay. So there is a question for, I suppose, Simeng. Is CSI free for SMEs? As we know, we need to pay for the access, and PLCs also need to pay high costs also.
Well, cost is relative to a large extent, but the CSI tool for Scope 1 and Scope 2 is actually free. Scope 3 will cost some money is because Scope 3 involves a lot of work where it involves integrating with your upstream supplier and talking to your downstream supplier as well, and putting a carbon number on that. But I do encourage you to visit our booth outside, where we'll be able to take you through what it covers for Scope 1 and Scope 2 tools. Plus, also there was another question on the so-called the reference format that we use to design the tool. We're more than happy to speak to all of you at the booth. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe a question to Dato' Wira. So for your members, SMEs focus on short term. It is understandable. But how does ACCCIM support the members? Encik Azizi said access to finance is only 22%. Not that important. You said finance is the barrier. So that this is an important question to talk. So also profit is not versus sustainability. Your take on this? But I suppose, to be fair, they might be talking to different groups. So Dato' Wira might be exposed to a certain groups, whereas the survey which Encik Azizi quoted might refer to other groups. But having said that, your take on that, Dato' Wira?
Yeah, as I just mentioned, we just started this in 2021, right? Our ESG committee. Yeah. So at this moment, our main focus is to organize a seminar to create the awareness for our members. And then you talk about the financing part. Of course, we'll work together with the banks, right? Invite the banks to come and explain to them what kind of financing or what kind of benefit, be given to the members. Right.
Yeah, sorry, if I may, just to clarify, from the survey that I shared just now, 20% of the participants basically that they say that they need bank support. But if you recall from that survey, 48% say that they are willing to self-fund it, for their sustainability agenda. So I just want to put it in the right context. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think I saw a question just now. Maybe this is arising from a confusion by the SMEs. It read something like, MITI has the ESG, and you have CSI, Simeng mentioned, CM2, sorry, Capital Markets Malaysia mentioned about SEDG. So which one should, yeah.
So very quickly, I just want to outline the difference, the key difference. So when MITI launched the ESG framework back in 2023, it's meant to be a policy framework. It's a policy paper outlining how would the government do the 4 pillars. We outline each and every deliverable that we can hope we best captured and, more importantly, delivered the promises we made in assisting the industry to adopt ESG. So but under there, one of the key deliverables is the introduction of an IEG starter kit. Because when we started in 2023, most of the SME and the industry players did ask whether they can have a so-called simplified guide to kickstart the reporting. We did that, and it's still available for today for free. CM2, of course, very comprehensive. The only key difference, probably I think, would be for our IEG starter kit is actually working on the GRI framework, meaning that it's double materiality. We not only look into the financial impact, we also look into the impact materiality of your business. Again, that tool is available for free. So whenever we work with SME associations, Menta, even the association SMEs themselves, we will always just ask them to kickstart their reporting using that particular document. From there, you can then move on already, whether you want to go for higher level reporting or whatnot. Okay, I hope that clarifies it. Again, we have a booth here located on top, so I'll be happy to meet you if you have any follow-up inquiry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wong. I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Yeah, thank you to our panelists for sharing such valuable insights. Before we close, Dr. Wong has offered that METI has a booth at the exhibition area upstairs, but Bursa CSI as well as MIDF also have a booth set up at the exhibition area. You can have a visit there to speak with the teams, the respective teams. Gentlemen, thank you once again for being part of this important conversation. Let's continue working together to build a climate-ready SME sector for Malaysia's future. I now hand the floor back to our MC to continue with the program. Over to you, Evie.
Thank you very much to our moderator and panelists for the valuable discussions. And importantly, thank you so much to each and every one of you for your active participation on Slido. We will answer the questions which has not been addressed on our microsite, so do stay tuned. And you can always engage with the panelists further at the booth in Conference Hall 1. In 2023, the Capital Markets Malaysia, CMM, an affiliate of the Securities Commission Malaysia, launched the Simplified ESG Disclosure Guide, SEDG. So this was mentioned in one of the questions as well, to improve the availability of ESG data and information by SMEs within global supply chain. Therefore, in Showcase 3, we will appreciate a practical walkthrough of key tools developed to support the implementation of SEDG. Participants will be introduced to the Simplified GHG Emissions Calculator, which helps SMEs identify their major emission sources in line with the disclosure requirements of the SEDG. The calculator enables businesses to estimate both absolute Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions and other metrics using data readily available from their operations. The session will also highlight the SEDG Adopter Program, which equips companies, financial institutions, and industry partners with guidance and resources to facilitate SEDG implementation across their supply chains. So without further ado, please welcome Ms. Farina Farid, Head of Communications at Capital Markets Malaysia, CMM, to the stage.
Hi, thank you. Hi. Yeah, there's a lot of confusion on IESG, how we like to differentiate the SEDG and IESG is the SEDG tells you what to do and the IESG tells you how to do it. So let me begin. So like what the MC said, that we launched the SEDG back in 2023. This is to basically help SMEs to disclose and report and also track disclosures, ES and G disclosures. So many times when we speak to SMEs, and one of the biggest challenge is how to do it. There's so many reporting standards internationally, locally, so how do we do that? So what we did was we actually consolidate and simplify it with simple language. That's the most important thing. And we translated it to two other languages, Simplified Chinese as well as Bahasa Melayu. So since the launch in 2023, we have had version 2, where we add on 3 additional disclosures, 2 environmental and 1 on the social pillar. The SEDG has also been adopted by the ASEAN Capital Market Forum, whereby if SMEs have clients in the ASEAN jurisdiction, you can basically see each and every country's disclosures and what the requirements of each country. So that was launched this year. So it's basically 38 disclosures now. It's segregated into 3, I would say, basic, intermediate, as well as if you're an advanced. So you can choose. It depends on your maturity as well as your, you can basically do it as for instance, like I want to try out. I don't know how to do it, so you can just do the basic. So it's basically to guide you step by step on what is necessary. But of course, the SEDG is meant for SMEs in supply chain, that the SMEs compelled to basically, disclose to their clients, and also for their financials. And banks are asking for reports, your customers are asking for reports. So this is important for the SEDG going forward. So besides that, last year, we have deep dive into the sectoral guides. So as you can see, we have energy, transport and storage, agriculture, construction, real estate, as well as manufacturing. We have a special human resource and labor practice guide that specifically for manufacturing, construction and real estate, as well as agriculture. So technically, the SEDG covers 5 main sectors. You have the general one, as well as the sectoral guides. All these are available on our website. They come with a template, the template that you are in Excel format where you can actually fill in. Also, the template is available in Chinese, Bahasa Melayu, and English, right? So to date, so if you have no time to actually read the guide, we have the tutorial videos available to go through each and every disclosure. Is in the guide. So technically it's 35 disclosures, so it's about 3 to 5 minutes. So some 2 minutes, it depends on the disclosure. So this is available online as well. Technically it covers, if you see here, is only environment, but of course social and governance as well. To date, we have about 50 adopters. CMM, to create awareness, we have created the Adopters Program. The Adopters Program, to date, we have about 50 large corporation and business association. One of it is ACCIM. They are and other business association. They encourage their members and also their supply chain to basically adopt the SEDG. So, but most importantly this year, I would like to introduce you to the SEDG Carbon Calculator. So the SEDG Carbon Calculator is basically a free tool for SMEs to calculate Scope 1 and 2. It is basically to make it simple for SME to just impute the data and come up with the Scope 1 and 2 emissions. From the many workshops that we conducted since 2023, one of the biggest challenge we saw for SMEs is that they don't know how to calculate. So because of that, we have created the platform. And the carbon calculator, as I mentioned, is free. And it's in line with the emission disclosure on the SEDG, and it adopts the greenhouse gas protocol, which is the common carbon accounting platform. So it's an activity-based approach. It basically is quite simple. So you basically need to pair each and every activity and with a specific emission calculator. So before you do that, we require 3 simple details from you: your primary sector, your total number of employees, and total revenue. These are the only information that we require. Then you can start to calculate your scope 1 and 2. So of course, scope 1 is basically your stationary combustion and also your mobile combustion. So you have all the specific, what you call that, you have natural gas, diesel, etc. So you have all the necessary specific metrics all recorded. You can record your data since 2022. So we decided to do 3 years. 5 years looks a bit too much. Your latest 3-year data, right? And basically, of course, scope 2 is basically your electricity consumption. This includes your in Semenanjung, which is Tenaga Nasional, Sabah Electric, and of course Sarawak Energy, and then in addition we have Kulim High Tech as well, right? So that is scope 1 and scope 2 very quickly. Of course, to make things more complicated or not, some of the SME clients would require the intensity. So the intensity is also recorded. You just got to basically fill in the revenue and it will be calculated. Okay? So as a result, you are given 2 documents. One is the Excel format, which is embedded with the formula already. And the other one is a PDF format where you can give to your clients. So these are 2 downloadable documents that you can do. You can get it from the calculator. And all this, if you do not understand, we have a user guide. So the user guide will specify each and every what the meaning is, what is scope 1, what is scope 2, what is natural gas, etc. So then, the most important thing, like true to its nature, the carbon calculator is also translated in both Bahasa Melayu and Simplified Chinese. So this is the user guide. Very quickly. And to download the carbon calculator, you have a QR code here. Thank you. Very mindful, I got 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Farida, for the insightful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your active participation. On behalf of the organizers, we are very, very happy to see all your questions and also thoughts coming in. We will continue this conversation during the break, so hopefully you will get to have meaningful dialogues with your fellow participants, as well as visit the booths in Conference Hall 1. There will be 24 booths with booths by emcee, as well as a lot of bankers and also insurers. So coming up next on this stage will be panel session 2, Navigating the Climate Landscape for SMEs. And this will happen after the break. Thank you.